Okay, we're back.
We are back.
Enough snacking on the mixed nut medley.
It's 50% peanuts by volume.
Very nice. A nice little salty snack right before we get started, huh?
A lot of salt.
Welcome back, Ma.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
Adrian.
I'm not supposed to be talking to you as my mother.
It's okay.
It's okay.
You can call me Ma because...
It's a family affair.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, my name's Adrian.
My name's Aaron.
My name's Doris.
Welcome back. This is To Teach One. And on the agenda today, what do we have, guys?
Well, we're going to be talking about cancer. And as everyone knows, Cancer is the fourth sign of the zodiac, usually represented by the crab, sometimes the lobster. Now, what a lot of people don't know...
I don't think that's what we're talking about, man.
That was what the note said. We were talking about cancer, right?
Yes,
Cancer.
you're right.
Cancer.
But
Not...
we're talking about cancer, the disease.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to have to change directions completely.
Yeah, do you need a minute?
I think I'll be able to roll with it. But I do now have a lot of factual information about the sign Cancer. So, if you want to hit me up on the website and you'd like to get that information, it is 2teachone006. That's the number 2, the word teach, and the number 1.
Number1.com.
I'm not really an astrologer, but I thought maybe we were going to do something a little bit different. Just take it, different directions. Who knows,
No,
right?
we're not going to do that. Astrologically speaking, this is a very interesting year. I was looking at some stuff, and
really,
I think that it may be to blame for a lot of people's year started off in a very strange way.
Is Mercury in retrograde? I heard something about that.
I'm not quite
I
sure.
don't follow that a whole lot.
I don't either.
But it's interesting.
It's interesting.
You want to hear a funny story? So, I have the world's most useless app on my phone, and it's a numeroscope. So there's astrology and there's numerology, and I downloaded this app for fun because it's hilarious how wrong it is. But like a stopped clock, every once in a while it'll be on. So it'll be like, somebody from your past will get a hold of you today. Your lucky number is 12, and it always has this really interesting color. Your lucky color is bottle green.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of funny and it's hilarious, and it's just entertainment.
It's funny and it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Funny is more like just haha, but then hilarious sometimes is like yeah,
okay,
it's like levels.
So
no comment.
Yeah, so that's that. You know what? So yeah, let's check in with you. How you been?
How you been?
I'm
this is basically your
fine.
episode. You're going to be
This
speaking
is
a lot.
not my episode.
No,
I'm going to turn it around, and it's going to become your episode.
Oh no, we're going to do the learning.
Yes.
Watch me
with everyone else.
Yes, watch this space.
Before we get to that, how's your time away?
My time away was busy, but it was a good busy because it was productive.
Oh, good.
Yes, I mean, I'm so ready for spring.
Yes.
Why? Because this is the first real winter we've had in probably 3 years.
I
think even more than 3 years, really. I don't remember it being so gloomy. It's just, takes away the pep in my step.
Yeah, and we still didn't really get snow like Denver is known for. Even this year. I mean, we still
more,
could.
A lot more than we have.
More. Yeah,
recently.
and that's actually good news.
It's great.
Yes.
I mean, even in California, it's been raining quite a bit. I mean, I was there. Well, it didn't rain while I was there much at all. But yeah, they're also getting a good amount of precipitation, which we know they need because if you even think about a spark in California.
Yeah, all of a sudden half the state's on fire. It's scary.
And it's absolutely frightening how it goes down.
And that's one of those things, you think about fire as something that just kind of burns and you look at it, but what they're dealing with when there's forest fires and there's that level of heat, it apparently can just sweep so quickly you don't even realize it.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad that you're back, Doris.
Yeah.
Me too. I can't stop thinking about winter. You said fire for California. I'm thinking Colorado in the winter. People, at least I get my vitamin D levels checked because vitamin D levels drop in the winter, and that's why most people get. even though it's underdiagnosed, it's called seasonal affect disorder.
Yes.
Yes.
It presents kind of like depression.
Exactly.
Right. I've heard of that, and that's probably why. And I'm no expert, but I've heard that people in certain states, like Alaska,
Right.
suicide rates
Exactly.
are a lot higher.
Yes.
Because of that.
I had no idea. When was it? 2008. I was tested when I lived in Montrose, Colorado.
Yeah.
So the doctor said, "Why don't we test your vitamin D?" And I said, "No, I was born on the equator. I can give people vitamin D."
That is.
Yes. So she was like, "No. Okay, let's just check before you start giving people."
Just humor us.
So she went ahead and checked my vitamin D. My symptoms were, it was so hard to get up in the morning and get going. I was just dragging and, teary. So I got a call from her. Not her receptionist, not her assistant. She called me and said, "You are now my new poster child. Your vitamin D is almost non-existent."
Oh, you're that's deficient.
Yeah, and I said, "Oh my goodness, the Americans have robbed it. I came here with a lot of vitamin D from Kenya." She said, "Okay, why don't we replace your vitamin D, and then we can, we'll pursue them after that."
Yeah, we'll figure out who took
We can
it.
talk about, you being charitable after you've regained, your stores.
Exactly.
That is some really good advice.
So
Yeah. So there you go. Think about that in the wintertime. If you notice you're, just not feeling it, and when I say that, I mean,
yeah, just kind of
sluggish. You can't quite figure out why you're not like excited or
Exactly.
I have a question though. So what is a good level? Like if I wanted to supplement vitamin D, what would be a good way to go about doing that? Like what level? How much should I take?
It depends. You have to have your labs drawn so that you know exactly how much you need to supplement. You can hardly ever over supplement with vitamin D.
Okay.
A good place to start. Okay, if your levels were drawn today and there were 34,
which is low. So
34 is not low. It's above 25 is low.
Okay.
So 34 is not high. At 34, you still need to supplement at least 10,000 units.
Daily?
Yes.
Wow.
And this is vitamin D3.
Vitamin D3.
Yes. When you get the doctor, the MD, mega doses. Okay.
I like it.
Sorry, that just came out. That sounded wrong. So when you get the prescription strength, it usually supplies you with vitamin D2, and it takes, it's not so easy to convert that.
Right, so your body still has to make D3.
Yes.
So. Interesting. Because I was supplementing with 1,000.
1,000?
Is
okay,
that,
we'll have to talk to you afterwards.
After the show.
By no means am I trying to be a doctor. I am not a physician. And please do not go and just get 10,000 units of vitamin D and start taking without talking to your doctor.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very sound advice.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So you know what? I'm glad we got to learn about that real quick.
Okay, I have a question. What is cancer? Adrian?
What is cancer? Wait, hold on. How are you going to turn this on us?
Listen here, I asked you a question. No, what's your idea of cancer?
So what do I know about it? So what is cancer? Okay.
You can say anything. There's no wrong answer.
Okay. So just what my understanding of cancer is.
Yes.
So my understanding of cancer is that, first off, the first thing I experience when you say, cancer is fear. Fear of, like terminal, like, impending doom, basically.
Right.
That's, and it's actually unavoidable. Even as I'm saying it, that's the only thing I can think of, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing a lot of other people experience that. To explain what cancer is, I'd say it's a disease that affects various parts of the body. I know that there's definitely some things that can cause you to get to be affected by cancer.
Okay, yeah, that's correct. That's more than I was even asking for.
Okay,
I see you're very, very informed because you're going into the causes of cancer. Well, okay, cancer is simply uncontrolled growth of abnormal cells in the body.
Now, when you say abnormal cells, explain to me a little bit more about like what that means. Just in simple words.
So you turn this. I'm the one who's asking the questions. I'm kidding. Okay.
Well, so, I knew it had something to do with cells that didn't, because the body goes through a normal process, right, of ridding itself of cells.
Exactly. So when let's talk about uterine cancer.
Okay.
Uterine cancer, the cervix, when the uterus is not, usually women in menopause and still have their uterus intact. The uterus, since it doesn't have work, and I'm putting it in really layman terms, the uterus is not, after every 21 days, shedding its lining, and that's what the menstrual period is. It's no longer carrying babies, So those cells don't shed. And they sit there and they start to become abnormal. And this is not in everybody. It depends so much on the baseline. What's your diet? The condition of your health.
Interesting.
So any tissue, all cells in the body can overgrow. And that's what becomes cancer.
Okay. So in a simple way, cancer is overgrowth.
Overgrowth of normal cells.
Okay.
And abnormal cells.
And so when you hear words like carcinoma or malignant tumor, those are directly related to cancer, correct?
Yes. So cancerous cells are also called malignant cells.
Okay.
Because you can have a malignant tumor, meaning that you have the cells are cancerous, and you can have a benign tumor.
Yeah, that's always been interesting to me. I've never really understood. I thought, so you can have a tumor, like an overgrowth, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's cancer.
No. Actually, a big number of, a large number of tumors turn out to be malignant, right?
Or benign.
Benign.
To be benign, right?
Yes.
And I remember a long time ago you had that spot on your leg.
Yes.
That you eventually, they went and biopsied and took a look, and they were like, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. No.
Yes,
not
it's nothing.
So what is the difference? Like, what is it? The abnormal cells that make it cancerous?
I always look at an easy way to explain it. It's like a switch in your body.
Okay.
And your lifestyle. And sometimes it's geographical. Any things like smoking, obesity can turn that switch.
Okay.
And then that feeds your cells.
Right,
okay.
Right.
Yes. And that grows into
cancer.
Okay.
So in my mind, I was kind of thinking to myself, I hear this word tumor quite often, but I don't necessarily know exactly what that means. So I looked it up, and one of the explanations just says simply that a tumor is defined as a swelling or morbid enlargement.
And it might not be visible. Sometimes it could be growing on an organ, and it shows up as a spot in the CAT scan. And that's why they go in and they examine it.
Right.
It can be on any organ, and it can be on distant organs if it's metastasized. So cancer travels through the lymph system.
Right.
And that's why it's very easy for cancer to be everywhere.
Okay. So explain to me, what is the lymph system?
The lymph system is a huge part of our immunity.
Okay.
It's what carries our B and T cells.
Okay.
So the first place that's what connects you, connects every organ, connects your whole system. We have lymph nodes on our neck. We have them under our collarbone. We have them in our underarms. We have them in our groin.
Right. So that's what. So I know sometimes if I'm sick, I get the swelling underneath. Then those are my lymph nodes. So that's there's a whole system of those.
There's a whole system. That's a whole other. It's very, very complicated. I remember even in nursing school, that was a system that was so fascinating. It was, immunity is very complex.
Yeah. Okay.
But very, very, very interesting. So it's easier to maintain your immunity, which I call, it's like putting guards.
Okay, yeah, it's a good way to think about it,
It's like putting guards there.
Okay.
So that you're not invaded.
Right.
And then you can do that by your lifestyle.
Okay.
What you're eating. Because once your immunity breaks down and you're immunocompromised, then anything that anybody coughs in your face,
right.
Yeah,
you pick something up.
And we talked a little bit about that when we shared our personal stories of cancer in the first episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is what eventually can cause people to, it wasn't the cancer. It was that the immune system was so compromised.
Yes.
That the simplest of infections becomes, overwhelming and life-threatening.
Right, it's kind of ravages.
Yeah, so what I was saying, what I was saying about cancer cells growing in our body.
Yeah.
So normal cells multiply when the body needs them.
Right.
And they die when they are damaged or the body doesn't need them. So that's when that process doesn't happen like that. That's when we find malignant tumors.
Okay.
Yes. So I'll say that again. Cancer grows out of cells in the body. Normal cells multiply when the body needs them.
Right. I see. And so if they multiply when the body...
die when they are damaged or the body doesn't need them.
Right. Okay. And so when that system doesn't work properly, those cells that the body needed at one point don't die off as they're supposed to. And then the next thing you know, you have a tumor or a growth, which can be cancerous. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
That's an interesting thing, because normally we think the body is, always supposed to be growing and doing really good stuff like that, but there's still a process that the body has to go through of ridding itself of things it doesn't need.
Exactly.
And when that breaks down, then you can have a cancerous cell.
Yeah, and we talked about an example was uterine cancer, but also one that's very, very common is esophageal cancer. In esophageal cancer, there's different causes. Like smoking, lifestyle, and a lot of things. But what happens, the biggest cause is GERD, acid reflux. Gastrointestinal acid reflux.
Oh, okay.
So what happens, acid travels to your esophagus and it makes the lining of your esophagus very coarse. And when it's coarse like that, you develop what is called, some people call it Barrett's syndrome or Barrett's syndrome. So Barrett's syndrome just sits there. It's a coarse texture.
All right.
And eventually those cells start to multiply abnormally.
Oh, and that is the cancer.
That is the cancer. So they start growing. Adrian said that a tumor is a swelling. So what they start doing, they start building up and they start closing.
Oh, closing up the esophagus, right?
Yes. And that's how people usually, the first sign is, oh, you know what? When I swallow, I feel like, like there's something stopping.
Yeah.
When I take my medication, my pills, feels like the pills stop somewhere.
Right.
Okay.
And slightly abnormally, because we all experience that kind of thing, from time to time, especially if you get some of those hospitals, right?
Yes.
But this is something different from that. You can tell.
Yes, this is totally different.
Yeah, I know. I know my mom had a form. It was related to leukemia, and it was something where her platelets were forming abnormally, mild dysplasia. So I know that it's interesting because it's called cancer, but it's so many different places and things happening in the body that all it has the same original thing. Things are growing where they're not supposed to in an abnormal fashion, but it can be all throughout the body.
It can be all throughout the body. There's many kinds of cancer, and cancer can develop almost in any organ.
Okay.
Or tissue.
Huh. Yeah.
Just the other day, I met a lady who had just been diagnosed with sarcoma, and that's cancer of the soft tissue.
Huh.
So her cancer was on her lower bilateral extremity, her left leg.
Oh, what?
A lower bilateral extremity.
That's you know what that simply means? It is giving me the side eye. That simply means on your just below on your shin, somewhere the bottom there, just before your toes.
I can't believe you didn't understand that.
We're
plainly clear.
Hey, listen, my role in this is the student, okay? You are the self-qualified expert. Emphasis on expert. We have the clinician speaking.
Yes.
She said something that almost melted my brain.
It was cool, though. I liked it.
Left
that was nice.
lower extremity.
We'll just let you know the
lower
difference.
bilateral.
Bilateral.
Yes.
Extremity.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm learning. The student.
Yeah.
Okay, so and it can grow in the lungs and the colon, the breasts, skin, bones, nerve tissue. So just about everywhere.
Wow.
And there's different causes. I mean, there are very many risk factors. We've kind of touched on some of the risk factors.
Right, smoking. I think everybody knows some of them.
Some of them are very, common. Like a lot of people, it's common knowledge, so to speak.
Yeah, but there's sometimes it throws people off because I know people who have drank since they were 14 and they're approaching 100. So don't even try to be them because everybody is makeup.
Everyone's different.
Is different.
Yeah. Is different.
We're all humans, but we're not all. There's so many variables, right? I think that's what it comes down to, right?
Exactly. So drinking too much alcohol, obesity, radiation exposure, too much sunlight, viruses, all those can be triggers.
Interesting.
Now, when it comes to viruses, that is one that I've never even considered. How do viruses lead to? Okay. Just in,
yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Let's talk about one that has been spoken a lot about in recent times, and that's the AIDS virus. So with the AIDS virus, you're susceptible.
You're trying to tell me that having AIDS can lead to cancer?
Absolutely.
How tragic.
That is, what a double whammy.
I know, right?
Yes, that's exactly.
Oh my God.
I know it's just a break in what we were talking about. I did just hear, it was kind of fascinating that AIDS was eliminated like in the second person that they've ever tried.
Yes, I read that.
The bone marrow transplant, is that what you're talking about?
I didn't really read deeply into it. I just saw that as like a headline on the news, which I thought was kind of cool. Oh, no,
I
digress.
So continue.
Yeah, so like with the AIDS virus, you become susceptible to a skin cancer called Kaposi's sarcoma.
Okay.
Yes, so that is, and the AIDS virus, you're susceptible to a lot of diseases that are just the mainstream, like pneumonia and cancer, but the diseases are usually a different strain.
Okay.
Like if an AIDS is a person with full-blown AIDS is going to develop pneumonia, but it's going to be caused by carinii. So pneumonia carinii is a specific pneumonia that affects the people with AIDS. And it's not only people with AIDS, it's mostly people with AIDS, but anybody who is immunocompromised. But mostly. Mostly.
And so would it be correct to say that the viruses cause like changes in the tissue that later develop into cancer?
Yes.
Would that be right? Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So that's the progression.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
That's interesting.
You know, the cause of many cancers is unknown.
Right. But we know there's some risk factors.
Yes.
Like you were saying, exposure to radiation, lifestyle. So like if you're overweight, if you smoke cigarettes, maybe if you, like you said, some people live to 100 drinking every day. Some people, it affects them differently. But like you could look in a general way and notice that there are some things that you could cut out or go less on. Exposure to chemicals.
Yes.
I know there's that ad I always see on television for mesothelioma.
Right.
And it's for, I guess, people who were working in factory conditions before they understood
Some of the dangers.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right, of
Mesothelioma and pneumoconiosis and blood cancers were suffered by the Cold War patriots.
Really?
People who were exposed, people who worked in nuclear power plants in the days where, you know, the risks were not really understood.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the, you know, the complex and protective equipment that we do have today.
Right. Yeah.
And it could be anything that's also removes a powdery thing that's easy to inhale because there were millers.
Yes.
And there was uranium miners.
Right.
And there was
asbestos exposure.
Right. Well, no, just an interesting story. My grandfather worked in I won't mention any names, but he worked in the defense industry for his entire adult life. And for many years, the very fine milling of plastics, it didn't, like, they never showed that it directly caused, you know, his lung cancer, because he also did, you know, smoke cigarettes and lead. But many people that he worked with developed the exact same lung cancer. Yes. And they always suspected, because like you said, it was before they really understood that you shouldn't be breathing in those fine powders. This was, you know, in the 40s and 50s when all that stuff was going on. So that's interesting that what we didn't know has affected a lot of things. Like for instance, so I just saw this magazine that was from 1972. It was actually downstairs where we work, and there were all these ads for cigarettes. You know, back when they really didn't realize how dangerous cigarettes were. And I just thought that's so funny, because you just wouldn't see those today. And so we've come a long way.
Yeah, we definitely have.
Recognizing some of the dangers so that people can at least know about them, maybe if you choose to smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, especially, you know, when you mention cigarettes, what comes to mind is that they had no idea also that secondhand smoke was worse
than it was worse. It affected those people worse than it did the smoker themselves.
Yes.
That's so amazing. I know. And I think back to my childhood and I think, because it was just routine. Everybody in my family smoked cigarettes.
Oh, there were no laws about this, that, and the other. Actually, not until recently was it illegal in some states to even smoke in your own home.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, if it's going to put your child at danger, they're not making that decision.
Exactly.
I mean, I can't tell you how, like, every Christmas, my entire childhood, I was in a house filled with smoke. I used to, you know how when a cigarette is in an ashtray, and the smoke comes up off of it, I used to just spend my time like playing with the smoke and like watching it go by. And I would remember just looking through. My grandmother, it was like in an old style house, and she had like this little triangle window thing for her door, and just looking at the smoke, because you could see it as the sun came in, you could see the smoke drifting through.
Right.
Just spend my time, like, it's like looking at clouds, be like, hey, that looks just like it looks like an elephant, you know.
Exactly.
And I know that none of them did that on purpose. Had they known the danger, I don't think that would have been the case. And even back into the 50s and 60s, if you watch some of those original television shows, the commercials would be, they didn't like cut to commercial. They stopped the show. Like, I know if you watch an original of the I Love Lucy show, they stop the show, and then Lucy and Desi walk over to the other part of the stage. They light up cigarettes and talk about how great Carltons are, or whatever the old school brands they had.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and even people used to smoke on planes, and so it's just interesting to me.
That one's the one that's crazy, because you know, in the house at least you can like open the door or the window,
go outside.
or go outside. can you imagine being on a plane that's just thick with smoke?
You know what? And they said that there was a non-smoking area and smoking area.
Dude,
how do
it's
you
the same
separate
area.
it?
Right.
Or you're gonna some guy who just can stop smoke? No, no smoke in this area. Stop.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that doesn't exist.
And it's funny because, they don't just retire planes very often. They pretty much rebuild them and then they still use the same airframe. You can find planes with ashtrays on it. But anyways,
on that note, what do you think the most common cause of cancer-related death is in the world?
The cause of the cancer or the type of cancer?
The cause.
Wow. I would say, if I were guessing, I would say exposure to pollution. Is that too broad?
It's not broad. It's one of the things because it's lung cancer.
Ah, okay.
And it can be through pollution. It's mostly smoking.
Right.
Wait, so the cause...
Well, this would be the type, right?
So it's the most common cause of cancer-related death.
Is lung cancer.
Is lung cancer.
Cancer-related death is lung cancer.
Yeah, I would totally believe that because I know, just industrialization in general has brought us, smog in the cities. There are cars, people smoke cigarettes. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of pollution there.
Yes.
And I guess before the Industrial Revolution, people just didn't breathe that stuff in.
Yeah, and at least in the United States, there are laws. You have to take your car for emission tests.
Yeah.
In Africa, there's not any kind of law like that.
Yo, really?
It's so crazy, man. Some of the vehicles. Dude, so one of the craziest things is you'll be sitting in traffic, which nowadays is just at epic levels, man. I mean, the traffic, it's probably the number one deterrent to being in Nairobi at any given time. Okay, right now they're going through summer, so imagine you're sitting in traffic. It's scorching,
right?
And more often than not, kind of like also in Europe, it's like this. Also, air conditioning is not that. It's not like in the US, it's just air conditioning is a thing. Okay,
yeah.
Everyone has it in home, in car. It's there, right? In Europe, or in parts of Europe, I think a great, most of Europe, even in hotels and stuff, unless you go to some of the
really?
Yeah, dude. I mean, you go to like Airbnbs, people's houses. They don't typically it's not a common, thing to have.
That's so interesting.
And it's the same way in Kenya, right, and in Africa, as far as I know. And so you're sitting in traffic. It's hot, and so you have your window open, right?
Yeah.
Then comes this bus. It doesn't even have to be a bus, man. And as soon as the traffic opens up a little bit, the thing takes off, and the amount of smoke that ends up in your vehicle.
Really?
I mean, you almost lose visibility.
I know you blow your nose, or you just clean your nose with a piece of tissue, and it's black.
Yo, I mean, it's crazy. And then there's dust on top of that. Anyway.
Yeah, that cannot be good for you.
This is fresh in the mind because I was talking to my grandmother today. She was telling me about that.
So lung cancer.
Yeah.
So lung cancer, yes.
What's number 2?
Let's let's go into specifically female and male because they are different.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
So for men,
for everybody, even women, lung cancer is number 1, followed by, for men, make a wild guess.
Colon cancer.
That's next.
What do you got, Adrian?
Prostate.
Correct.
Really? That's interesting.
So lung cancer, prostate cancer, colorectal cancer.
Okay.
And for women, what follows lung cancer?
Breast cancer.
Yes, correct.
And then I'm going to go with, or unless you want to venture a guess.
No, please go ahead.
Then it would be the, what do you call that?
Start with a C.
The cervical cancer.
Funny enough. Oh my goodness. No, colorectal.
Colorectal.
Which surprised me also.
Yeah, I would have thought.
And I think it's in developing countries. That's where cervical cancer is
most
pretty
prevalent?
much higher than colorectal.
Okay, but here, maybe in America, because of our diet.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, that's why it affects both equally.
Well, and it's interesting because, we talk about not eating fast food because, well, it makes you fat and it's not very good for you, doesn't provide the right kind of energy, but it's also filled with chemicals and things that you probably shouldn't be eating.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, most
Over time, that's got to have some effect, right?
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, I know. I had a presentation given by somebody I know, and it was just interesting to me, just a real quick aside, that he listed all of the ingredients in a very famous chain's chicken sandwich, and one of them was the same ingredient. Like, he was like, see this ingredient? Let me show you what this is. And it was paint thinner, right? I mean, it was a small amount, right? But it was paint thinner. It's the same chemical.
What is paint thinner doing in your sandwich?
Exactly. Well, and my guess is that it is a type of preservative, right? And all these things that they use, because have you ever seen, there's another, like if you want to do it yourself, go to your local fast food chain,
Right.
buy a hamburger, and then just don't eat it and let it sit there.
See how long it goes.
See if it decays.
Yeah, there's a lot of those videos showing what happens, and some of them are downright scary.
I've seen that are like 15 years old. I've seen some that are 15 years
serious?
old. And nothing has happened.
You've got to be
Past teenagehood.
Yeah, it's 15. It can almost drive.
So some of the so what I'm hearing.
What did you say?
Well,
you can almost drive.
You can almost drive. It's 16. You're eligible for driver's license.
You know what? I thought I heard it wrong.
But it was amazing to me because it had the little date on it. I went in there and I saw it, and it had the date that it was purchased on, and I was just blown away. I'm like, wow, in 15 years, you would think something would find a way to like break this down.
But okay, so that's in perfect conditions, right? Because nothing's really happening. It's being bombarded by all the same stuff we're bombarded with externally.
Yeah.
But now if it's in the body, obviously, there's our, acid in the stomach, and there's all these, there's systems that are going that are designed to break that thing down, right?
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
still, I bet you it stays in your system for quite a long time.
Correct.
And
it probably starts, no wonder they talk about putrefaction. So the system, it sabotages your system, and so your system doesn't know what to do with it. So probably the system tries to now adapt and grow abnormal cells, trying to even just simply digest food that we eat.
Right. Wow.
That's scary.
Yeah, definitely.
Very scary. Because you think you're just stopping in to pick up a hamburger, and it becomes a habit because people's lives are busy, and I think it's one of those things people don't really take into consideration. What is this going to do if I do this 3 times a week for 20 years?
Because it's habits and it's continual use that now causes the problem.
Yes. I mean, if you just have like one fast food hamburger once a month or even twice a year, probably not going to destroy your life.
Won't phase you, really.
I think what we should, people should come together and agree that nobody in America is going to have any fast food for a week. They would shut down.
It would be amazing. I know, knowing what I know and how I feel about fast food and how just little of it that I eat, it always amazes me, though. Every time I drive by certain fast food restaurants that I live near, there's always a line. There's always people. I see people bring it in on a regular basis. I know people who make it a habit. They eat fast food 3-4 times a week. It's just what they do. They like it. They like to eat it. It tastes good.
Right.
It's quick. And it's funny to me because you don't want to like bring anybody's world down by walking in and be like, that's going to give you cancer. But it's true though. Like, you can't really do that to your body over and over again. It's not meant.
Yeah, it's convenient. Convenience is what is killing people.
Right.
It's so convenient that they just overlook every danger, and they also feed it to their children.
Yeah, that's the one that's like really, really scary because, and I've seen people that are really close to me do this, right? And I get it.
I don't blame them.
Parents are busy.
Yeah.
Okay. There's, Sam needs to be taken to soccer practice, little Stacy has to be picked up from her swimming lessons. I mean, all this stuff is going on at the same time.
Little Shiko has to be picked up from her ballet lessons.
All of these things are happening at the same time. And, you just get overwhelmed, and whatever takes care of that current issue at the time is what happens, sometimes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some people go to the extreme, and that becomes the norm.
Yes.
You accept it because it's easy.
Yeah, but once in a while it's not bad because the kids are crying, begging, they're hungry.
Yeah, but that's called a treat. And I think that's how I know that's how you, like, when when I was a kid, these things weren't fast food as it exists here in the Western hemisphere only started came about back home in Africa recently.
Exactly.
Okay? We've got some of those big names that have landed there now, right?
Yes.
But we had we had fast food too, but it wasn't the same thing.
It wasn't. It was actually never fast food because Africa is a mañana place.
It was faster food.
Faster food because it's a hamburger and it's been made from scratch, and it's not like a stew or chicken that's been
like slow cooked. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's been cooked since morning and it's going to be ready at noon.
Right.
Anyway, It's a road runner.
Right.
The chicken is 15. The chicken actually got there itself. It got ready in the morning as its boss was getting ready, and they got to work at the same time. But
then it takes a while. So it was a type of faster food, but it wasn't like...
Yes, it falls under the description of fast food in that it's faster than other stuff, right?
Right, but
when you look at the ingredients,
the quality,
that's the key. Okay, what you're ingesting,
right?
It was so much higher than a lot of things you'll find nowadays. Now, of course, nowadays there's these other chains. Like, for example, there's some guys from who used to work for the place that ends with Arnold's.
Sure.
Okay, that place. So they used to work there, and they opened up this place called Shake Shack.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now Shake Shack, like, that's what they do. The idea was to take this fast food thing, right, back to a time when it was enjoyable and also not necessarily so detrimental to your health. You know what I'm saying? It was nutritious, and that's what they were trying to do. It was like what
a good idea.
Like a Route 66, like when families used to go down Route 66.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
You know what it just reminds me of Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta.
Oh, are you talking?
Oh, Grease.
Yes.
It's
Those are the kind of fast foods.
That is an...
Yes.
What? I did not see that.
Yeah, that was kind of left field. But it was cool, though. I get where you're going with that.
I completely understand.
That time.
Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about.
And I was going to mention, I had watched this thing on one of the channels about how it used to be done. And they used to have to make... Like, there was one, I don't think they're around anymore, but it was a famous burger chain, one of the first ones. And in order to prove to people how fresh their food was, it would, they had a big glass thing, and people could watch them turning the beef into patties right there. So it was faster food, which was the difference. Exactly. But it wasn't on demand. Here it is in 20 seconds, fast food.
It wasn't
Nobody expected that.
It wasn't about pumping out units, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
It's about providing an experience.
Well, it's one of those things about balance in the economy and with lifestyle.
Absolutely. And I get it.
Yeah, everybody, over time, the pressure became, okay, well, our product is faster. Mm-hmm. And as it became faster in that competition, the quality and the nutrition declined. So I like your idea. Yeah. If everybody just for a moment said, you know what, I don't want to do that.
Yes.
Then the companies would have to change. The product would change. It would get healthier. People would get less cancer. And I like what you said too. I just wanted to bring it back to that, where eating fast food is a treat, right? It's not a part of your daily diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I see it.
Every once in a while, you want to take your child to get a burger somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's not, you want to prioritize your eating to where it doesn't become a necessity.
Exactly.
Right? And it is about priorities. It's about what you choose to spend your time on. And I know it can be onerous and burdensome sometimes to cook for yourself, but I think the reward is so much better.
It's so much better. And
fiscally responsible, and it's actually manageable.
It is actually cheaper.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not talking about food here, but I know that there's an upcoming episode where we talk about dietary changes that we've made.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I almost forgot and said something because my journey has been very interesting.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that.
Yes. So,
just real quick, I just want to say that since we're talking about this fast food thing, right? It's interesting because fast food looks so different around the world. Okay. For example, you travel to other countries and what they call street food, right? It's fast food too.
Yeah.
But it's all kinds of different types of food. It can be like what we view as actually in all actuality, a lot of things that were started out, as food for peasants, street food type things end up being served in like the most expensive and,
sushi.
Exactly. These are things that weren't necessarily came about as something luxurious, right?
No.
It was something that was, born out of necessity.
Yeah.
It was quick for the working man on the move.
Yeah.
A lot of times these things are eaten standing.
Yeah.
yes.
And somehow they find their way into like these ritzy, places and stuff. But really, there's all kinds of different, types of food that are really like good and wholesome and nutritious that are
Exactly.
considered fast food in other, countries. And if we can adopt some of that,
It would be great. Yeah.
it would definitely be great. And to an extent, those things exist, right? Like there's this whole craze with the poke. You know what the poke is? The fish.
I do not.
I don't.
Well, perhaps we should go and find out about poke sometime.
Okay. We'll keep that as a
we will.
mystery. Yeah, because we got to move on a little bit. I know. So what? Once you have it, right, and we know what are some of the things we can try to stay away from, smoking, fast food, that kind of stuff. What are some of our treatment options? So if somebody was listening and maybe they had an unfortunate news, but they were wondering, like, what are my options? Where do we go from there?
Wait, but so before you even get into treatments, I mean, how do we even diagnose?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
okay.
good.
Okay. Let's start with that. Most cancers are diagnosed by biopsies.
Okay.
So there's different kind of biopsies. Some are syringe biopsies where they go in with a large bore needle and aspirate fluid and test it. I know, that's a big ouch. So, and then there's some that have to be surgically actually, the tissue.
They take a little bit out.
Take the tissue out and the sample is tested to see whether they are malignant cells.
Okay.
Yes. And then most people have a CT scan. That's the first thing. And that's where the cancer is suspected.
Okay.
And then you also have a CT scan after you have, for them to know the exact location and size of the tumor.
Okay.
Okay. So you were talking about treatment. So there's mainstream treatments, which are chemotherapy, radiation treatment, surgery.
Right.
And those are not without side effects.
Sure.
So people are turning to alternative treatments. Just because like chemotherapy, radiation therapy, chemotherapy doesn't target the cell, the tumor only.
Right. It's
systemic.
it's more like it's like using a sledgehammer versus using a laser.
Right. Well, I wanted to
Yes.
ask like a very basic question because I know this is something that I ran into when my mother was diagnosed. I did not understand what chemotherapy and I knew radiation, that kind of made sense to me, but I didn't understand exactly what is chemotherapy.
So chemotherapy is a mixture of different chemicals. That's all I can call them. I cannot call chemotherapy medicine. Yes. It would be very hard for me to call it medicine because it's chemicals that are mixed together using protocols that have been put in place and injected intravenously into your bloodstream.
Okay.
So that's chemotherapy.
Okay. So it's totally different than radiation.
Radiation is a ray. It's almost like
Kind of like an X-ray.
laser.
Like an
Yes.
X-ray.
Okay.
Yes. It's all radiation targets that places that really like in, I wouldn't mention countries, but in the third world, when I've seen people who've received chemotherapy and it's really gone bad. It's burnt them, and chemotherapy burns up.
Are you talking about chemotherapy or radiation?
Sorry, I'm talking about radiation.
Okay, yeah.
So radiation is targeted.
Right.
Here in the United States, you get tattooed.
Oh, so that they know.
So that every time you go, they're directing it to that area.
Okay.
And even then, the side effects are that the surrounding organs are affected most of the time.
Okay.
Why is that? Because of proximity? Because it's hard to, it's, again,
exactly.
It's not quite a laser focus.
Exactly. So what happens, they get affected in esophageal cancer, your vocal cords are affected.
Right, I remember you talking about that.
Yes, so my dad's vocal cords got paralyzed. And then the skin around your neck hardens. So, and depending, head and neck cancers are difficult because you have your sinuses, and sometimes your sinuses are affected, and your head, your brain can be affected. So one of our very good family friends, his brain was affected, and he kind of, it really changed his personality.
Interesting.
Really, really changed his personality.
Okay, so these are like some heavy duty.
These are heavy duty. How
they're aggressive.
Yes, the first line of treatment is surgery.
Okay.
If the cancer is encapsulated,
right,
and not many cancers are, if it's encapsulated, it means that it hasn't even been able to travel to the lymph system.
Right, we were talking about earlier. Has it spread?
It has not spread. It's encapsulated. They're able to go in surgically and remove it.
Oh, okay. So that's your first option if you can.
That's your first option.
Okay.
I have a question about that. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard something about how it can be also dangerous to go in surgically because the tumor, so this thing wants to survive, right? It's kind of like, okay, I liken it to a virus, right? It's trying to survive.
Yes.
And if you go in and try and remove it surgically, I've heard of cases where it runs wild. If it's not done well, I'm not sure what the factors are, but it's possible for it to just kind of be like, oh, they're trying to kill me. I'm just going to spread myself so that I can survive. Kind of like something to that effect. Is that true? That
is true. That's a complex discussion that we can't get into, but there is that risk.
So that is a risk.
Yes, that is a risk.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so
only if the tumor has spread to local lymph nodes through the lymphatic system, then that you go with chemotherapy.
Okay.
Because the lymph system is in the blood.
Right.
So that means it's in your system anyway.
Right.
So, like...
That's interesting. Yeah, because I always wondered... Well, because my mother, it was a blood cancer. And so they went with chemotherapy immediately. Like that was... I kind of think that was their only option. I guess because it was already... it was her platelets. Like it was in the blood.
Right.
And so, like, she never had... There wasn't like a tumor, any direct wear. It was like in her...
Right.
In her bones.
Yes, and that's why it really depends... on the kind of cancer, because like that kind of cancer requires a combination of treatments.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what lymphoma and cancer of the lymph glands you cannot treat with surgery.
Right, because you can't remove all of those because you need them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And there's chemotherapy is spoken about a lot. But there's also immunotherapy, which is really growing in popularity because the results are very, very, they're significantly life-saving.
Yeah, is that where they like train your own immune system to attack the cancer? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes. Wow. And those are the non-surgical treatments. Yeah. And not to forget, of course, as far as I'm concerned, the best are the alternative treatments, which is integrative medical treatments.
What would those be?
Those target the spirit, mind, and body.
Okay.
And they focus on changing the internal environment.
internal environment.
Sometimes our internal environment promotes cancer because we have fed it. We have candida. We're eating a lot of sugar. So actually, our internal environment is feeding the cancer.
Right.
So that.
That's interesting. I know. Yes. I've heard of people who go on very specific diets. Like I heard the story from a doctor that I knew that one of his fellow doctors was diagnosed with the cancer, and he went on an extremely low carbohydrate diet, like not even one that you would recommend for a normal person who just wanted to eat less carbs.
Exactly.
But an extremely, and I guess that has something with the sugars. I was never quite sure, but I know like that was, like you're talking about, it was a different solution. So rather than attacking it through chemotherapy, he changed his diet radically.
So that sounds like starving the cancer.
Huh.
Okay. So by activating the immune system, you actually starve the cancer. That's one way.
Right.
Starving the cancer while supporting the nutritional needs of the rest of the body.
Right.
And then there's inhibiting the cancer. And then there's detoxifying the body.
Wait, let's go back. Inhibiting the cancer. Elaborate on that a little bit. What does that mean?
So when you can inhibit the cancer by retarding its growth. And it can be through intravenous vitamin supplementation.
Okay.
Oh, so that's one method.
That's one method.
Okay.
Yes. That slows the progression.
Okay.
And
is that a fact?
It is a fact.
Okay.
And then there's detoxifying the body. There's different ways you can detoxify the body. I am not an expert in natural therapies. I'm big on natural therapies. Have tried them personally. One of them that's becoming very, very popular is coffee enemas, because coffee enemas regenerate your liver.
Interesting.
And coffee enemas are not the usual enema. You are going to get the same side effects where your bowel is cleaned out. However, the coffee enema is an implant.
Interesting.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yes, because the longer you hold it, the more detoxification happens, and the liver regenerates every 3 minutes. So every 3 minutes count that you hold the enema in.
Wow.
And at the end of that cycle, the glutathione is released. That's the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
Is released. Glutathione is the mother of antioxidants.
Okay.
The more glutathione you have, there's certain races that have more glutathione than others. And their lifespan is longer.
Interesting.
Really? Glutathione.
Yes. So that's one of the
sort of an alternative that would be.
Yes, it's an alternative, and people who are undergoing cancer treatment are actually required to have 4 to 5 coffee enemas a day, because they're not reducing the potency.
Right.
What they're doing, they're keeping their liver detoxified so that it's healthy enough to process all the chemicals that are passing through.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That is that's fascinating.
It's optimizing its
yes.
effectiveness.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, and there's also oxygenating the tissues of the body to shut down the cancer.
Now, how does that happen?
What's that about? Yeah.
That, the one that I'm familiar with is what is it? Peroxide.
Hydrogen
peroxide.
Okay.
Hydrogen peroxide treatment. And hydrogen peroxide treatment and high dose vitamin C treatment, you receive those intravenously. High dose vitamin C eventually breaks down to be hydrogen peroxide, which means that it's just oxygen. Your blood is being oxygenated.
Yeah.
And in that environment, disease does not thrive.
Wow.
Eventually, you'll kill it off.
So
that's
what does oxygen saturation, does it have any correlation to alkalinity levels?
I'm not 100% sure, but alkalinity levels are high up there, because that if you're too alkaline, you can feed the cancer.
Okay.
Too acidic, you have to be just optimal.
Okay.
Yes, and your blood needs to be a certain pH.
Okay.
And your urine a certain pH, your skin a certain pH. There's pH in everything. And it's actually advisable to buy a pH kit, a dip system from your pharmacy, and even check your skin products, body products.
Okay. Or to see where they're at on that scale?
Okay. Yes, where they are.
Speaking of which, I need some lotion, Mom.
Don't worry. I'm so on that.
Okay, cool.
In fact, I have some black soap, sugar and coffee scrub.
Yeah, I can definitely use that, but I also need a care package of that and the lotion, because I just ran out.
I don't know if you can't really see because we don't have video, but my hand is raised because this is fascinating me. I'm a proponent of lotion.
I'm glad you are. I hope more guys are.
Well, I know, and it's interesting. When I lived in Texas, there was this thing, and we're digressing a little bit, and we'll run through this real quick, but it was kind of funny to me. Lotion was considered a female thing. You live in Denver for a little bit, and you're like, yo, bro, I need some lotion. and every guy I know is like, yeah, me too. What's the best kind? I slather that stuff on. And you have to have good lotion. Otherwise, it seems like it just sits on your skin and it makes you feel all greasy.
Yeah, if it's too heavy, that's what it does.
But
exactly.
So you need something. The natural products.
Yeah, I really looked into it.
Because naturally,
like shea butter and coca.
Exactly.
Yeah, I make, that's homemade, so you're going to be very happy. It's got black soap, which is a mixture of shea butter and banana leaves
and some other stuff.
And some other stuff. There's some secret stuff, but there's also charcoal.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I use stuff called African black soap lotion, but it's funny because Adrian's always like, this stuff is white.
Let me tell you something. I'm like, how can this have any? I've seen black soap, okay?
It works well.
Emphasis on black, okay? Right.
Yes.
No.
That's what it looks like. Yeah. And your lotion, I mean, as good as it feels, I don't know if I'm buying that black soap part, because it's white. It's completely white.
Yeah, it's funny. But no, that would be
They put like a teaspoon in there and they were like, it's called black soap.
Just so they could call it that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, you know what? Let's go back to alternative. The latest advancements.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
In treatments.
Fascinating.
Yes.
We're going to start with gene-based treatments. Genomics.
Who?
Let's do.
Who
genomics and where they from?
Genomics. You can call genomics Jerry.
Jerry. So. Well, no, that's where, you get your DNA tested and they tailor stuff. Is that right? That sounds like
genomics is the study of changes to the genes in your DNA.
Okay.
So this, the genomics give doctors important clues about how your cancer will act and how to best treat it.
So that's like real cutting edge.
Yes, doctors look for changes called mutations in certain cancer genes.
Okay. And then they will know kind of way more about what's going on.
Yes, and how they're targeting to kill that kind of cancer by knowing what mutations. So the genomics is like just the process of being proactive and knowing what to expect. So, and then the other one we talked a little bit about was immunotherapy.
Right.
And immunotherapy, your immune system hunts down and kills invaders like bacteria and viruses. It also seeks out and destroys cancers as they form. But cancer has developed ways to hide from your immune system, and it can grow despite your body's effort to stop it. So cancer is, cancer
tricky.
Reminds me of, but you know what? Because of so much money that's been allocated to fighting cancer, our gut bacteria at one point was as evasive as cancer. Because scientists knew that we had bacteria in our gut. that was causing things like small intestine bacterial overgrowth. But what is that bacteria? They didn't have names for it because by the time it came out and they were able to culture it, it had changed.
Really?
Wow.
Yes. So they couldn't.
Wow.
So up to the point where people were swallowing little cameras, so that's a whole new
It's a whole other episode.
podcast.
Right,
Wow, that is
Yes.
fascinating.
So that is what the mutation is.
So it's like that with cancer.
Yes. And the same thing, what antibiotics do. Antibiotics change, the mutations change according to, they recognize the antibiotics. And before you know it,
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you develop like they.
yes, a
it's like-
resistance.
yeah, so that's why you can't. Well, they say don't just randomly take antibiotics
Exactly.
Right,
it
right.
mutates the actual
Yes.
bacteria.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Interesting. And so this would be like targeting the cancer specifically, through the immune system by sort of telling the immune
Exactly.
system what to look for.
Yes, the immune system needs to be ahead of the game. So
Okay.
you're kind of, just, I don't know how to explain that, but
It sounds complicated, but
it's complicated.
Well, it sounds to me kind of like so early on I spoke about virus, right? So anything in nature has a survival protocol in place, right? So and cancer is no different, or any basically everything, the bacteria that's in our bodies,
Yes.
whatever it is, right?
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
All these things are just trying to survive. They're organisms, of their own,
Exactly.
right? And so
Yes.
they're all just trying to do whatever it takes to survive. So whether that if that means mutating into something else,
Yes.
whatever it takes.
Yes. So immunotherapy actually is there to try and outsmart
Right.
the viruses and the abnormal cells and all the different mutations that they show up.
Right.
They come back dressed
It's in a disguise.
in a disguise.
A really bad, like,
And
stuck on
it's like,
mustache.
I knows you. The immune system is like,
I
I knows you.
That's not me. And that's another guy. No,
Who's
someone-
Jack? My name is Jim.
Yeah, somebody friend.
Yeah, I don't even like people named Jack.
Yes. So there you
That's
go.
funny. That's
Yes.
funny. Okay.
Okay.
But so there's some stuff
okay,
coming
go
up.
ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, but what's cool, so there's some stuff in the works. Like the
Yes.
scientists are still working
Yes.
and we're getting
Yes.
more of a handle on it. And so it sounds to me like when you mentioned we didn't used to know all that stuff about the gut, now they do. Maybe, coming up into the future, they'll know a lot more about cancer and how to treat it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's hope.
Oh, there's hope.
So, so there is hope. Now, obviously, we can't give any exact answers, and none of this is meant to be like medical advice or anything
Yes.
like that, right? But there's definitely things that we can do to prevent our likelihood of being diagnosed with cancer or contracting contracting is not the right word, or just ending up with cancer, right? So what are some of those things?
Before I get into that, I'll just
Okay.
touch on one last point.
Oh, got you.
Which is a latest advancement in treatments, and that's monoclonal antibodies. Your immune system makes proteins called antibodies to help it spot invaders like bacteria and viruses.
Right, yeah.
Excuse me.
Each antibody seeks out another protein called an antigen on the surface of an invading cell. So these are all therapies that are working to outsmart and, kind of just adjust the environment
Okay.
where they're able to have a winning chance as they fight
Right.
the abnormal
Okay, yeah.
cells.
So it's very complicated stuff, but still highly interesting.
Yeah. So, Adrian, what did you ask?
No. So what I was asking about is preventative measures, basically. So what can we do on a day-to-day basis, to really mitigate the risk?
Eating healthy foods, limiting alcohol, exercising regularly.
So let's stop there. So let's just, we're not going to get really into it, but when we say limiting alcohol, now people, it doesn't matter what age you are. I mean, people, I mean, it's accepted, an acceptable part of life in social.
For most people, yeah.
For most people to, enjoy alcoholic beverage. Now, some would qualify as, just casual users, and there's some that are definitely abusing, and then there's also the people that are just hardcore, let's call it alcoholics, right? So who is really at risk? At what point do you become one of those people that's really at risk specifically because of drinking?
Well,
alcohol,
spirits are one of the alcoholic beverages that encourage cell overgrowth in your throat and esophagus.
Okay.
However, also just any kind of alcohol. If you go to the to cancer.com, they have what's that word? I'm getting
resources.
Yes, they have resources and about how much alcohol is too much alcohol.
Yeah, okay.
Or some statistics and that kind of
yes,
thing.
That's a really good resource. So it's cancer.com?
Yes.
Yeah, because I guess, it is interesting. There is a certain, I'm sure they've done some studies on what is a normal amount that you can drink and stay healthy.
Right. Exactly.
Right, exactly. Because I'm sure there's there's people out there, I mean, given my past, I don't understand how they do this, but there's people who drink half a glass and they're like, "Ooh, I'm starting to feel it.
Yeah,
thank you. I'm
done." Yeah,
I'm guessing those are not the people that are at risk.
No, those are not the people, and those are not the people in the pubs in London.
Right. Yeah.
Or anywhere else for that matter.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yes, these are you can find all those resources online. Because they change. They change.
Well, according to your body type and family history and
right, there's variables.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like for women, it's totally different. Women are not able to metabolize alcohol as fast as men.
Yep.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yes. And during their menstrual period, women should drink half of what they normally drink because they metabolize it so fast. So much faster than when they are normal.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So they're consuming more alcohol and it's having less effect because it's being metabolized so fast.
No, slow. I meant slow. It's the opposite side. Yeah, opposite.
Half as fast.
Yes, half as fast.
Okay.
So they need very little to jump out of the cake.
I get it. Yeah. So if they drink a normal amount, they're going to get more drunk. Yeah.
So okay. So but that's kind of tricky though, because that's from what I've heard, it's kind of a stressful time, and
yes,
we usually seek comfort in different things, and alcohol is one of them.
Sure. Yeah.
Alcohol is accessible, but how about some exercise?
There you go.
Yeah, there's definitely
that's what I do.
That's
yes.
right. Oh yeah, it works like a charm.
Yeah.
You get to tap into your natural dope.
Yeah, your endorphins.
Endorphins.
Alcohol
Exactly.
doesn't have anything on those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's also maintaining a healthy weight.
Right. And that's what, body mass index? Is there a rough guide to that?
There's a guide on the cancer because it changes. And I also would really like the listeners to find other resources. There's so many resources on cancer. And it should be, like it's life education. The information changes. And everybody needs to keep on top of it, because I don't think that there's anybody who has not been affected by cancer.
Right,
a friend, a relative.
That's true.
Right.
So this is not a topic to run to when somebody is diagnosed. This is something to kind of just, educate yourself.
Yeah, stay on top of. Yeah. And like you said, it changes. And so what we thought we knew last year could be totally different than what we know this year.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
definitely with, the advancement in technology, whether medical or, whatever it is, we're definitely, finding out more. So my question is, Actually, no, it was not really a question. I was going to say, so as far as the resources go, we're doing this podcast. We're giving the basics because a lot of people don't even know most of the things that we've spoken about today. So along with that, we're going to be providing some resources. If you go to our website, 2teachone006, that's the number 2, numeral 2, TEACH, numeral 1.com. Almost every episode has a blog post that goes along with it, at least for the more in-depth discussions.
Right.
We definitely provide most of the information that we talk about here in the podcast, but in this case, we're definitely going to provide some resources.
Yeah.
So you can go out there and find some more information because we focus on fundamentals. There's a lot more that you can, you can take what we've learned from this podcast and build on that by checking out the resources that we're going to provide in that blog post.
That's a good word.
Yes, absolutely. We're also going to cite where this information has come from, where I gathered it from. And if most of you have a patient's portal through your primary care provider, that is a very good place to start. And most of this information, I got it from the patient portal. Mine happens to be Centura Health, and also a lot of it from nursing school.
Well, yeah, you came into it with some knowledge, hence the bilateral lower extremity. It was really cool. That's how you know, like, a layperson from a pro. Because my mom used to talk like that occasionally. And she'd say something and I'd be like, what? And she'd be like, oh, like your pinky, And I'd be like, oh, why didn't you just say that? She's like, that's just not how they, when you're talking to other professionals, you don't, you use that language.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of neat.
Along those, now that you've, brought that up, I just want to thank, Doris for definitely making an effort to bring everything down to a level that is, understandable. Right.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree.
To everyone.
To the layman.
To the layman.
Like us. Yeah.
Exactly. No, but you're the self-qualified expert.
Yeah, I can read fast and I have access to the internet. That does not.
That's what separates you and I.
Yeah. But
mostly the second part.
But what's
I have access to the internet too.
Yeah. Well, then there's a huge difference between, and that's what makes 2teachone interesting, is we have those perspectives. We have a clinician who has been trained for years, right, Doris?
Yes.
But then the internet makes it possible to go online and learn lots of things, some of which are true, some of which are not true, right?
Exactly.
And so you'll find yourself inundated with all this information, and that's part of what our website or our website and our podcast is about, is breaking some of that stuff down into the fundamentals so that people can get a grasp on this huge topic, which is just health. And even as large as cancer is, we haven't even dented just the overall topic of human health. We haven't even gotten close to it, and we never will. So we break it down to fundamentals so that people can understand. Then we give you resources so you yourself can go learn. And we're just the primer, the starting point for your journey into learning.
That's right. Just give some foundation for you to build upon.
Yeah.
As far as your knowledge base goes.
Yeah.
The more you know, the better.
Yeah. Knowledge is power, literally.
Health is wealth. You don't take care of that, you've got nothing.
That's true.
That is very true.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Doris. This was very informative.
You're most welcome. This was really fun.
Yeah.
And couldn't do it without you guys.
Hey.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You're the backbone.
We feel the same. I mean, there's three of us. Let's just call it a tripod.
The triumvirate. That's what I think of it.
That sounds like an extinct dinosaur.
So
here comes the lumbering triumvirate. You can see its footprints here. It's 160. I'm sorry. Okay.
So
yeah.
I hope you have we had to send anyone off into the forest with some bananas recently?
Hopefully not.
I'm really hoping.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think whether anybody has come back.
It's funny when we watched people, or we got some feedback from people we know. That was one of the best parts. People love
literally
that.
run over to us if they happen to be close to us, and they're like, "Dude, this is so funny. This is so." They really like the stories.
The banana story.
Okay. And the chasing off the wild animals with the sticks
with
and
the sticks
sharps.
and stuff.
Yeah, that was really interesting, and because it's such a perspective that people don't have, right? Because even in America has been industrialized for so long. Even when you grow up in the country, it's not really like it is in Africa. I mean, apparently, I haven't been there, but it's a different perspective than most people that we know have, and they really enjoyed it. You were a highlight of the feedback that we got, Doris. Just wanted to say how much we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the love.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I had a dream, and you, Aaron, were in Nairobi.
Really?
Yes, and you were blowing your nose, and there was so much soot coming out because you were in the traffic.
Really?
But you were so happy.
Oh, I would be very happy to be in Nairobi. That would be fantastic.
I think that dream is going to come true. I just have a feeling.
Chances are that's going to come true.
Wow. I would, yeah.
I have a vision, We're going to record this podcast on the road at some point.
Next to the flamingos?
Wherever. I don't know about the flight, so there's logistically, we need a certain level of quiet to record.
Well, you see, the flamingos.
I mean, that would be excellent.
But are flamingos loud? I mean, I've never even seen a flamingo outside of, I don't know, maybe a zoo.
They're going to try and peck you.
Really?
I don't know. They seem to be, rather docile. They just want to sit in the water, stand in the water and eat stuff.
Yeah, most of the flamingos I know are
on
people's lawns as ornamentation.
Yes.
The pink flamingos with the little twirly thing.
Yes.
Yes.
That's that would be fantastic. Yeah, we should take 2teachone on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. We will.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
This is
do
number
that.
6 of who knows how many we're gonna be able to do.
Yeah.
And we owe that all to our very beginning core of listeners, and we hope that you are listening to the program, you're giving feedback. We would really love it.
Yes, feedback.
If the people that listen could give it, because we like it when we get it in person, and that's great. But we would love for you to put it down on the website, to really review us on iTunes. That is huge. We would love for you to do that. So if you appreciate this content, if you appreciate what we're doing, let us know. Subscribe, follow, give feedback, give us a review on iTunes. It would really help us out. We're just starting out, and we appreciate all the support, but we just want to encourage everyone to go that extra mile and let us know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. What we've noticed when we check, our numbers and everything, because we care about where this is going, there's a really, really decent size of amount of people that are actually listening to the podcast. However, the numbers don't reflect the number of people following us doesn't reflect, the number of listeners, they're not the same. So, and I think it's a common trend as far as I know.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to encourage everyone to to follow us. We want to see and hear about how this content is is impacting you, positive, negative, whatever it is, because the feedback is really going to inform how we continue to do this. And from the beginning, we've maintained that we want everyone to be a part of the process, to kind of shape the journey, exactly, the direction that we take, with this podcast. Like we said, we're going to be expanding into some other types of content, so definitely look for that. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. We have something that we're going to be doing here soon that is going to be entertaining and hopefully educational as well. Before we end, I would like to dedicate this episode and the last episode we did on cancer to my grandfather. The 8th of March was his birthday. It was yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
You know when my mom's birthday was?
No.
The 6th of March.
Are you serious?
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my dad. He's Adrian's grandpa. My dad would have been 81.
Wow. Would have been 81.
Yesterday.
And that was yesterday. So, I'm just so glad to be able to do this, something that I set out to do. Unfortunately and fortunately, we don't get to choose some of the circumstances that lead to, things like this, starting a podcast. We're going to be affecting people in positive ways. But the reason this whole thing happened wasn't necessarily very positive. or at least, it wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
Right. The inspiration wasn't ideal. So I want to dedicate this to my grandfather. I just want to say that we're definitely not going to stop. We know that it's growing.
Yeah.
Every
week.
It's in its infancy stages. And, we definitely want to thank everyone that's listening so far, and promise to continue to work really, really hard to, provide some content that'll be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So to my grandpa, to Aaron's mom.
Yeah.
This is for them.
And to anybody else who's got a loved one.
Absolutely.
Who has passed on due to complications of cancer.
Absolutely. And another thanks to my mother for being, a very important part of, this process. Sometimes I'm not sure how much she, if she's totally bought into the idea. And I don't know how much, she affects like the impact that she has. I'm not sure she gets a good idea of what that is. But, if you stick around, I think you'll start to see that you're definitely having an impact.
Oh, you definitely are. And to all our listeners, let her know.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Also, happy International Women's Day to my mother and all the other strong women in my life and all over the world.
That's right.
Including my grandma.
Stay strong.
I love you, Grandma. I don't know if you've heard any of these podcasts yet. I don't know who. You probably haven't. My mom didn't even know how to listen to podcasts. A lot of people don't.
They don't. No, I've had quite a few people who I've never listened to a podcast, and because they knew me, this was the first one they listened to. But it's kind of a newer art form.
I'm hands-on. I like to wipe tears. I like to lend my shoulder.
Yeah.
Right.
So Adrian and Aaron are the technical guys, and they have definitely educated me, and I feel very empowered.
That's
awesome.
Great.
Awesome. Great to hear that. All right.
With that, this is Aaron, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
This is Doris. Thank you for having me. See you next time.
Again, my name's Adrian. Please reach us at 2teachone006. That's the numeral 2, TEACH, numeral 1.com. You can find all our social media profiles on there on the website. Please listen to any and all of the podcasts. We've had some very good discussions, and we've got some good stuff coming up. So stay tuned. Peace.